In 1859, two of the most powerful nations on Earth came to the brink of war. Cannons were aimed. Warships gathered. Thousands of soldiers stood ready. And the cause of all this? A single pig. A pig that had wandered into the wrong potato patch and paid for it with its life. What followed was one of the strangest standoffs in history, where the only casualty was the pig itself. This is the story of the Pig War. Welcome to Curio Hour, where we uncover the strange, the unsolved, and the unforgettable. Today's story, the Pig War. Our story takes place in the Pacific Northwest, on a small, beautiful patch of land called San Juan Island. Today it sits just off the coast, between the state of Washington and Canada. But in the 1850s, the ownership of this island was a genuine mystery. And the cause was a single, poorly written sentence in a treaty. Years earlier, Britain and the United States had signed a treaty to settle their border in the region. The border was to run along the middle of the channel, separating the mainland from Vancouver Island. The trouble was, there was more than one channel, and the San Juan Islands sat right in between them. Depending on which channel you chose, the islands belonged either to Britain or to America. Both nations, naturally, chose the channel that gave them the island. And so both the British and the Americans firmly believed San Juan Island was theirs. For a while, this was just a quiet disagreement on paper. But people from both countries had begun to settle on the island, living side by side. On one side were a handful of American farmers who had come to claim land and build new lives. On the other was the powerful British Hudson's Bay Company. The Hudson's Bay Company ran a large sheep farm on the island and considered the whole place British territory. The Americans, of course, considered it American. The stage was set for conflict. And it all came to a head on the 15th of June, 1859, because of a pig and a patch of potatoes. An American farmer named Lyman Cutler had settled on the island and planted a garden. One morning, he found a large black pig rooting around in his potatoes, eating his crop. This was not the first time. The pig, which belonged to an Irishman working for the British company, had a habit of wandering into Cutler's garden for a free meal. This time, Cutler had finally had enough. In a fit of frustration, he raised his rifle, took aim, and shot the pig dead. Almost immediately, Cutler felt a pang of guilt. He went to the pig's owner and offered to pay for the animal, suggesting a fair price of $10. But the owner was furious. He demanded a far higher sum, reportedly $100, a small fortune at the time. Cutler refused to pay such an outrageous amount. When Cutler argued that the pig had been trespassing on his land, the British authorities threatened to arrest him. And that is when a quarrel over a pig became an international incident. The American settlers on the island were alarmed. They feared the British would arrest them and drive them off their land. So they called for help from the United States Army. Their plea reached a man who was more than happy to answer it. A fiery and ambitious general named William Harney, who had little love for the British. Without waiting for orders from Washington, Harney sprang into action. He sent a company of American soldiers to San Juan Island to protect the settlers. The officer he chose to lead them was a young captain named George Pickett, a name that would later become famous in the American Civil War. Pickett landed on the island with about 60 soldiers and made a bold declaration. He announced that San Juan Island was American soil and that the British had no authority there. The British were not about to take this lying down. They controlled the seas in the region with the mighty Royal Navy, the most powerful navy in the world. In response to Pickett's tiny force, the British sent warships. 3 of them bristling with cannons and carrying hundreds of Marines, anchored off the island. It was a wildly uneven match. Pickett had a few dozen men. The British had warships that could have blown his little camp to splinters in minutes. When urged to consider the odds, the stubborn Pickett is said to have replied that he would make a fight of it anyway, no matter how hopeless. The tension was now extreme. Over the following weeks, both sides poured in reinforcements. The standoff escalated, with each nation determined not to back down first. By the height of the crisis, the numbers were astonishing for a quarrel over a pig. The Americans had hundreds of soldiers dug in with cannons on the island. Facing them, the British had assembled a fleet of 5 warships, carrying scores of guns and more than 2,000 men, including Marines ready to land. It was an enormous concentration of military force, all aimed at a tiny island, all because of a dead pig and a disputed potato patch. And yet, through all of this, something remarkable kept happening. Nobody actually wanted to fire the first shot. The British naval commander on the scene was a sensible man named Robert Baines. When pressed to land his Marines and attack the Americans, he flatly refused. He reportedly said he would not go to war between 2 great nations over a squabble about a pig. It was a moment of pure common sense in a sea of bluster. So the 2 sides settled into a strange, tense routine. They glared at each other across the water. They built up their forces, and they waited, but they did not shoot. Eventually, news of the absurd standoff reached the leaders in Washington and London, and both governments were horrified. Neither nation had any intention of going to war over a pig. The whole affair had spun wildly out of control thanks to a few hot-headed men on the ground. The American government was especially embarrassed by General Harney, who had started the whole thing without permission. They sent one of their most respected soldiers to calm things down. That man was General Winfield Scott, a hero of earlier wars and a skilled diplomat. He sailed to the island with orders to cool the crisis without firing a shot. Scott met with the British and worked out a sensible compromise. Both sides agreed to reduce their forces dramatically while the 2 nations sorted out the dispute peacefully. The agreement was simple. Each country would keep a small force on the island, no more than about 100 men, until the question of ownership could be settled properly. And just like that, the crisis melted away. The warships sailed off, the cannons fell silent, and the Great Pig War was effectively over, without a single human casualty. What followed was perhaps the most charming part of the whole affair. For the next 12 years, the British and the Americans jointly occupied the island together. The British set up a camp on the north end of the island. The Americans set up their own camp on the south end. And the 2 sides became, of all things, friends. The soldiers visited one another's camps. They shared meals and drinks, held celebrations together, and competed in friendly games and sports. Instead of fighting over the island, the 2 old rivals spent more than a decade as good neighbors, sharing a beautiful corner of the world in peace. Finally, in 1871, the 2 nations agreed to settle the dispute once and for all by handing the decision to a neutral judge. They chose Kaiser Wilhelm I of Germany. A commission appointed by the Kaiser studied the old treaty and the maps, and in 1872 delivered its verdict. The island they ruled belonged to the United States. And so the British peacefully packed up their camp and left. San Juan Island became American, and it has remained so ever since. The matter was finally closed. Today, San Juan Island is a quiet and lovely place, part of a national historical park. You can still visit the sites of the old English camp and American camp. It stands as a monument to the time 2 great nations nearly went to war and then chose friendship instead, all over a pig in a potato patch. The Pig War.